My name is Angelica, and I used to work overnight shifts at a data center in Cedar Falls, Iowa. It was mind-numbing work. I sat in a warehouse-sized building full of servers, making sure systems stayed online. If one went down, I'd walk to its row, restart it, and go back to sitting alone for hours. The place was at the end of a deserted road, backed up against a thick line of woods. It was so isolated that sometimes I felt like the only person left in the world. One night, a system went down. I grabbed the row and section number from the alert and made my way through the maze of corridors to the farthest corner of the storage room. That's when I saw it. The power cable was unplugged, not loose, not halfway out, completely lying on the ground like someone had yanked it free. I'd worked there for years and never once seen that happen. Still, I brushed it off, plugged it back in, and rebooted the system. On the way back, though, I heard it, a heavy door slamming shut somewhere in the distance. I froze. There weren't supposed to be any other employees in the building that night, but I told myself it was just pipes expanding, or maybe the HVAC. I went back to my office, sat down, and tried to focus on Netflix. That's when I heard it again. Footsteps, quick, light, moving down the corridor right outside my door. My stomach dropped. I opened the office door, but the hallway was empty. The only thing I saw was a door at the far end, slowly swinging shut. "Hello? Who's there?" I called. My voice echoed through the empty building. I forced myself to walk down the corridor and opened the door. Beyond it was another hallway lined with small, unused offices. I hesitated, debating whether to keep going, when one of the office doors next to me suddenly burst open. A man came charging out. I barely caught a glimpse. Dark clothes, messy hair, wild eyes, before I turned and ran. His footsteps pounded behind me as I bolted through the corridors, down the stairwell, and out the fire exit into the parking lot. I didn't stop until I reached my car. Hands shaking, I called the police. They searched the building for nearly half an hour, but found nothing. No sign of forced entry, no sign of the man. Later, I realized why the system had gone down. That unplugged cable wasn't an accident. Whoever that was had been inside for a while, sneaking around. I think I caught him off guard when I went to investigate. And if I'd gone into that office room when I first saw the door close, I don't think I'd be alive to tell you what happened. My name is Marcus, and this happened while I was working deliveries on the side in Ashburn, Virginia. I was saving up for a down payment on a condo, so after my regular 9 to 5, I'd pick up deliveries almost every night. It was exhausting, but the extra cash was worth it. One Saturday, things were going unusually well. Big tips, easy drop-offs. By 11 p.m., I should have quit while I was ahead. But I got greedy. When a $20 order popped up for a drop-off about 15 minutes away, I couldn't resist. I grabbed the food and followed the GPS. The streets grew darker, emptier, until I found myself driving down a gravel road cutting through the woods. Eventually, I came to a small gate. The chain was down, so I drove through and parked in what looked like a deserted trailhead lot. I frowned. There were no houses, just a wooden sign that read, Oak Hollow Nature Preserve. My phone rang. It was the customer. A man's voice came through, deep, gravelly, almost hard to understand. He said he was camping with friends down one of the trails, and if I walked in a little ways, I'd see their fire. That explained the big tip, I thought. I grabbed the food and headed down the trail with my phone flashlight. It was silent except for the crunch of my boots and the chirping of crickets. Then I saw it, the flicker of firelight deeper in the trees. But something felt off. The fire wasn't on the trail. It was set back, hidden among the trees. And when I stepped closer, I realized there were no tents, no people, just a small fire burning by itself. "Ah, hello?" I called out. A stick cracked. I whipped my light toward the sound. A shadowy figure stood between the trees, motionless. "I'm the delivery driver," I stammered, setting the bag down. The man stepped into the firelight. He was tall, gaunt, with a scruffy beard. His eyes were unsettling, and his grin looked wrong. It was the same gravelly voice from the phone. "Didn't see you there," he muttered. Something in my gut screamed at me to run. I turned and bolted back toward the parking lot. His voice called after me, sickly sweet. "Hey, don't go. I've got cash for you." I sprinted faster, my lungs burning. When I got back to the lot, relief washed over me until I saw it. The chain was up. Someone had locked the gate behind me. I froze, staring at it, when I heard footsteps crunching behind my car. Without looking, I floored it, swerving off the road, bouncing through the ditch, and barely squeezing around the pillars to get back on the gravel path. I didn't stop driving until I hit the main road. The next morning, I looked it up. Oak Hollow Nature Preserve closed at 8 p.m., sharp. No camping, no fires allowed. That man had lured me there on purpose. And if I hadn't trusted my instincts, I don't think I'd be here to tell the story. My name is Ryan, and a few years back I worked the night shift at a small pizza shop in Bridgeport, Illinois. It wasn't anything fancy, just a hole-in-the-wall place with greasy food, a couple of booths inside, and a steady stream of drunk college kids who would stumble in around midnight. The one thing that made it stand out? It was open 24/7. That's exactly why I ended up there. The pay was garbage, but I didn't mind. Working nights alone meant peace and quiet, no micromanaging boss breathing down my neck, and plenty of time to kill when it was slow. That night started off like any other. I clocked in around 9, took over from the day manager, and settled into my usual routine, prepping the workstations, checking the ovens, and scrolling on my phone while waiting for orders. It was a Tuesday, so I wasn't expecting much. By 1 in the morning, the shop was dead silent. No calls, no walk-ins. I was practically dozing off in the kitchen chair when I heard the familiar ding of the front door chime. I got up and headed toward the counter. But when I got there, the dining room was empty. Not a soul in sight. At first, I laughed it off. Maybe I was hearing things. I'd been listening to that doorbell go off for months. Maybe my brain was just messing with me. I went back to the kitchen, sat down, and shook it off. But about 15 minutes later, the bell rang again. This time I was alert. I knew I heard it. I walked to the front. Again, no one. No cars outside, no late-night stragglers, just an empty street under the buzzing glow of a broken lamppost. I played with the door, tugging on it to see if it could somehow ring by itself. But it didn't. I told myself it was a weird glitch and went back to sit down. The next hour dragged on. Just before 3 in the morning, the bell rang a third time. I froze. I didn't move this time, just sat still in the back kitchen, staring toward the hallway that led to the counter. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded too loud in the silence. No reply. By 4, I was restless and ready to close out my shift. I went to the register to count what little cash I'd made that night. That's when the air shifted. I felt something, like I wasn't alone. I kept glancing over my shoulder at the kitchen, then back at the dining room. And then I heard it, a heavy thump. I turned around and my chest went cold. There was a man standing behind the counter, just a few feet away. He was dressed in ripped black clothes, a hood pulled low over his face. His skin looked pale and filthy, and his eyes, bloodshot, hollow, stared through me. But the worst part was the knife in his hand. He gripped it so tightly his knuckles were white. I froze, heart pounding in my throat. "Hey, look, you can take the money." "Just don't hurt me," I stammered. He didn't answer. He just stood there, swaying slightly, his chest rising and falling like an animal ready to strike. The only way out was the front door, but to get there I'd have to move toward him. My only chance was the counter. Without thinking, I threw myself over it, crashing to the floor on the other side. The man lunged, letting out a guttural roar. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted out the door. His footsteps thundered behind me. I didn't even think about my car parked in the back. I just ran straight into the road, praying someone would drive by. After what felt like forever, his footsteps stopped. I didn't dare look back until I was standing on the street corner, gasping for air. By the time the cops arrived, he was gone. Inside, the shop was trashed, chairs overturned, food thrown everywhere. My car had deep, jagged scratches across the side, like he'd dragged the knife along the paint before disappearing into the night. The scariest part? The cops told me the door hadn't malfunctioned. Someone had likely been ringing it from outside, distracting me, while he slipped inside and hid. I quit a week later. I couldn't shake the thought that for over an hour that night, I wasn't alone in that shop. He was hiding, waiting, and watching me.